Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA and NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code. That's Bleav, B-L-E-A-V, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome back to Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash. I'm here with former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Teja Dash. Guys, how are we doing? It's finals week.
Doing good. How are you?
Pumped.
Yeah, pumped. Finals week, I'd be more pumped if obviously if our guys are in, but it's fun rooting for the Warriors. At first when they started that dynasty, they were young bucks. Now they're the older guys now, so it's like they kind of have a little bit of an underdog feel, even though they're the favorites. But I feel like they've kind of become that underdogs, being the older guys now.
Yeah, I mean, no one, because they won and then they kind of went away.
Yeah.
So as time went on, now all of a sudden they're playing. They're still there, but the opponents have changed. Mm-hmm. So it kind of feels different. A lot of opponents are younger, like you said.
Yeah, they had a little rough patch there. Now they're kind of back. So it's not the a few years ago it was boring for them to win because they were doing it every year, but now it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. They used to be really good.
Yeah. But yeah, so with that, let's make some finals predictions. I'll start off here. I'll take Warriors in 6.
I hate to just copy that, but I think I was on the cusp of 5, but I'll go Warriors in 6 as well.
And I'm going to be the thumb, and I'm going to say the Celtics in 6.
Good man.
Being on the 76ers podcast, I feel like I couldn't be the Boston guy. I couldn't do it.
I don't want to be.
I didn't know who to root for last series. I wanted to be like a tie and they both go home between Miami and Boston, to be honest with you. But, someone has to win.
Eric, what did you think of the this is something that everyone's kind of making fun of Jimmy Butler for, that 3 that he pulled up for at the end of that game? Did you like that shot or no?
I mean, when he shot it, I was surprised that he shot it. And the reason why I was surprised is because I felt that him kind of going full speed in transition, that he could have gotten to the rim and at least scored or gotten fouled.
Yeah.
It was basically a one-on-one. So that was why I was shocked. I think if the defense was set and he had a crowd of people behind him and he didn't think he could get to the rim and they left him wide open, I think that you take that shot. But it was no balance. Like, it was nobody there to get an offensive rebound. So it was almost like the shot had to go in. Or it was tough for you to win. It was tough for you unless they missed those free throws, which they, didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Horford was backpedaling. I think that Mark Jackson, then they pointed out how he was backpedaling to get back on defense. And he could have had him if he taken to the lane.
Yeah, I think that he would have scored because I know Al would have tried to contest it, but I'm sure that Al would have been very cautious of fouling them and getting an and one. So I think he would have either kind of just, soft contest or just take the foul and not even let him shoot it, which could get tricky at the end of the game, taking the foul like that. So I was shocked being that, he wasn't really as effective taking threes like as he was, getting into the paint and shooting the mid-range shot. But, I guess, they didn't seem to, at least publicly, they didn't seem to disagree with it.
Yeah.
I speak for a lot of Sixer fans that I've seen on social media when I say, how come Harden's not getting those Butler calls? Butler was getting called every time. That's what Harden used to get like 4 years ago when he went to the rack.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. He's good at drawing fouls. It's a different kind of draw, a foul draw too, though. It's Butler's really crafty, just you getting in his way, whereas Harden kind of goes right at you and forces the refs to kind of blow the whistle, whereas Butler acts like he's going to go one way and he kind of just meets the defender there and does that whole thing.
I think the biggest difference to me is Jimmy doesn't come off like he's flopping as much. Not to say James does it, but his body language doesn't come off as a flopping action.
Yeah.
When I think James, gets a bad look from referees when he does that, because I think he was sort of the poster child from the league making that change. And I think that kind of affects him.
It's definitely a lot more obvious when Harden is going for the foul call, whereas Jimmy makes it look like, hey, I was trying to score. He just fouled me. Whereas Harden just does that whole thing and
so it almost looks like a flop more so than Jimmy, even though it's the same.
Yeah.
I also thought another thing in that game was kind of fishy. Spoelstra kind of talked about it in his press conference, was the three they took away from Strus, which happened like a couple possessions after the fact. It was like 6 minutes had gone by or something like that, and they took away the three. They said he stepped out of bounds. I just thought that was weird because usually you see that at the next dead ball, but minutes went by and they took that shot away. I just thought that was odd.
Yeah, it was odd, the timing, and they announced it on television. Like they didn't even you didn't hear. We didn't get to see a referee make the announcement, and at the same time, it was from the angle that they showed. I didn't think it was clear.
Yep.
Yeah,
it was like a shadow between
maybe from other angles, but from the angle I seen it, it wasn't very clear to me.
Yeah, that was odd. I know. I mean, we had there was a bunch of missed calls in our series too. So I'm not gonna be too.
That's always gonna happen.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be too sad for the Heat fans. Okay. So as we get into this episode, I mean, pretty much if you go on Twitter where you type in Sixers, there's a bunch of hypothetical trades out there from Bleacher Report, ESPN. Everyone's got these trades going up, SB Nation too. Everyone's talking about what the Sixers can do this offseason, what are possible trades out there. So what we did was we kind of compiled probably the most hyped up trades on Twitter. We obviously talked about the Beal for Maxey trade last week, so we won't even get into that one. We talked ad nauseum on that one, but lots of trades, a lot of Tobias focused trades. So we're gonna get into them and see what you guys think and how that could be graded out for the Sixers this offseason.
Is the season.
Is the season. So the first hypothetical trade that I've seen, it's gotten a lot of traction online. Sixers would trade Matisse Thybulle and then our 23rd pick if the Nets don't give that to us, if the Nets do give it to us and they don't want to take it this year, to Oklahoma City for Luguentz Dort. So I'm a huge Dort fan, and I love this trade, but what do you guys think about that potential of the trade? So our 23rd Matisse for Dort.
To me, that's a tough one because I think with Dort, it kind of depends on how they envision using him and also the kind of contract they envision giving him. I think that I need to see a little more because, if you're opening up, you're taking away, that pick, like, what are you going to do to replace it? Are you going to get a free agent? Or are you going to get another young guy on a minimum contract? I'm not necessarily crazy about that because I do like him. I don't know how it will fit with us, but I do like his defense and his toughness. I do like that a lot. Is he going to play three? Like what does this move Maxey to the bench? I just got to see a little more for me to kind of be overly convinced on this particular trade.
Yeah, Teja, I know you're a big Dort fan. We've talked about his height being playing a 3 at his kind of stature. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think if they did it, I would think they'd have that in mind. He is undersized. He's jacked up, but he's not tall. I think he's like 6'3". So he plays big, and I've seen him even guard Durant on plays. So he can switch and he can guard bigger defenders. So I would assume they would try to put him at 3. I do like the deal, though. I mean, man, Thybulle's just been so up and down for me. As far as the pick 23 goes, I'm cool with it because Doc doesn't really like playing rookies anyway. So we're giving away the next like blue coat starter by giving away 23. He's not going to play more than 5 minutes next year. Let's be honest here. Contractually, Thybulle has pretty much 2 more years under team control because we had this next year and then he's a restricted free agent after that. Dort only has this year. So the main reason why I think OKC might do it is so they'd have control over a really good defender for 2 more years instead of having to give pretty much Dort the contract like this next year. To me, I would think it's worth the risk if they think, yeah, he can play 3. We could just lock him in at 3. He's a much better scorer. I think Matisse is good at picking passing lanes and being a weak side blocker. He's one of the best in the league at that. I think Dort might be a better on-ball defender, though, as far as just locking a guy down. But yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, but yes, you need to know, is he going to be a lock-in player at 3? He shoots better at 3-point percentage. I think 34 and 33% the last 2 years. And Thybulle actually surprisingly shot 31. So he's only 2% points less than him. Yes, Dort shoots 7 a game and Thybulle shoots 2 a game. That's a huge difference. So Thybulle has improved in the last 2 years, maybe on 1 percentage point. But I mean, if he could just take a jump at 3s, this would be a non. We wouldn't even be talking about this if Thybulle could average even 8 a game, but 4 and 5 a game when we're playing 4-on-5 on offense, it's rough, man. We saw what it does to us in the playoffs when you're playing with one man down on offense. We can't afford to have that happen.
Yeah, I think I don't know. What do you guys think about this? So the fact, let's say we do have him try to play him at 3, Maxey, Harden, him. Those are 3 guys 6'5" below, and then and we talked about how we kind of got outboarded in that Heat game. We didn't have the size nor the the tenacity, but I think Dort would bring the kind of that aggression and tenacity on the team. But as far as the height, that's just something you can't really account for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's tough. I think that it sounds enticing with stuff Teja said, but it still leaves questions to some of the issues that we had in the season. So it's plug and play, but you still have more to address.
Yeah. I think that's not the kind of deal where you're like, all right, offseason done. Let's go to next season. I think that would be like one of like 2 to 3 more deals that we would have to maybe do to get this team right, especially if you're limited in free agency. But yeah, no, I think it would give us the dog aspect we're looking for. We wouldn't lose defense with him, and we get more offense. I mean, I don't think he'd average 17 points per game with us anyway next year. But, if you gave a guy who played really good defense at 3 and gave us like 11 points a game, I think that's a huge win. I mean, if Thybulle could average 11, man, we'd lock him down for the next 5 years. So, You
don't think you get there?
At this rate, yeah, he'd get there by the time he's like 32.
I'm just saying, within, you think how on just a question, like how far off do you think Thybulle is from Mikal Bridges?
God, I wish
the gap is that big.
He shot. The thing is, Thybulle's shot doesn't look that bad. It's like every time you see him shoot, you're like, okay, that's how I feel.
The difference with Mikal is Mikal has always shot in 3s. Like he shot 3s in college, so he can get there, and so his confidence is there. But he has times where his confidence doesn't look as high. But he does so many, he slashes, he runs in transition. I mean, I still see Mikal Bridges as a defender that gets points for them, but I don't see him. I mean, I know they all say they're 3 and Ds, but he slashes and gets points other ways. Like,
no, he does.
I think I was the same kind of mode.
Yeah, and we don't have to rush with Thybulle anyway. Like, we have 2 more years of them. So I think the problem is, though, if you are going to trade Thybulle to maximize it, this would be the year to do it, because on top of his low salary, some other team could be like, damn, you guys have him for 2 more years at that price? Okay, yeah, that's an asset. If we wait 1 more year, we can wait to see if he develops it. But if he doesn't, then we lost a lot of value there. That would be the only ticker on that.
Got it.
So it's hard. I mean, yeah, I've always wanted Thybulle to just slowly become Danny Green. Is what I've always wanted. Just slowly but surely. He needs to shoot more if he wants to do it, though, because I mean, the most shots he averaged.
Guys have made the transition. That's what I'm saying. Like, they have made that transition, and I think sometimes, and I think this year was, because last year we had Ben, and Ben got so much attention about not shooting, and we all know how that went.
Mm.
But I think this was the first year Thybulle sort of had the pressure of, dude, you got to go and you got to make a corner 3.
Yeah.
So I think now, for the first time, he kind of understands, because you can hear it all the time, but when that experience is the best teacher. So now he kind of like, okay, I have to not only get in the gym and make these shots, but I got to get in the gym and make these shots in the pressure moments, the pressure shot, where you taking a shot, 1 or 2 shots a quarter, and you haven't touched the ball in minutes, and you got to make that shot.
Yep.
That's a different shot. That's a different game, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about guys shooting the ball and saying they got to make shots when they don't touch the basketball at all, but you got to make that shot. But that's why they get paid the big money, because you do knock it down. But I've seen guys develop into it, PJ Tucker. Like, you can go down the line. You've seen guys that kind of get to that point. Bruce Bowen was the main guy from that.
Yep.
Bruce Bowen was getting the hacker shack, but in leading the league 3-point percentage at one time.
Yeah, it's
at
funny.
the same time. So you have to. It can happen. I think some of it's going to come down to, how confident he can be, and are they going to stick with him, and the team is going to give him the confidence that he can be that guy, because I think that matters also.
And do we have that patience? Because there is a window now. There's a definitive window.
So the team is going to give him that confidence. I think if they don't, then I don't see it getting better.
Yeah, because we're like, with Harden and Embiid, there's a definitive window for this team. Do they think Thybulle can become anything close to what they wanted him to be in that window? That's the thing you have to decide before his contract comes up, which is 2 years. So, I mean, yeah, I would have liked to see a little more progress this year, but yeah, this was the first real year that he didn't have, another guy like Ben on his team. So, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Now, when we're talking about just sort of trying to gauge the value of a first round pick. So last year, Jaden Springer was our first round pick, and instead of, let's say we kept this first round pick, which is kind of a higher value asset, Jaden Springer or that first round pick? Because we don't really know what Jaden Springer can bring to the table as far as what he can do on NBA level, because he only played a couple of minutes throughout the season. So would you say that a first round pick or Jaden Springer is kind of more of a valued asset?
Well, I think Jaden Springer having a year with the team should be the more value, because he's been in the system. Right. He knows the players. So, even though he hasn't played very much, he's practiced, he got a feel for things. So he's more inclined to be the guy to step in and be able to hit the court, rolling and getting things going. The only way I can see a guy coming in this coming draft is if he's a true plug and play as far as fits a need. You say it's rebounding, the guy that just come in, he's just a bull on the boards, or we know he's not going to be a shooter because those guys just don't last to 23. So otherwise I don't really see a guy that's coming in is going to be that skilled that late, unless somebody's a young guy that, just blossoms as soon as he gets to the league. You have instances like that because some guys are so skilled or so talented, but the college game doesn't really allow for them to be that guy, but the NBA game does. So it does happen. I just think it's going to be fitting a need because it's not going to be many options for guys to just come and get the basketball or get plays and calls. That's just not going to happen with the guys that we have on our team.
Yeah, a lot of teams like the what's under the box instead of the item. You know what I mean? Like, the potential for more might be the reason why I want it. Like, let's see what's under the box. It could be worse. It could be a lot worse. It could be nothing under the box, really. So yeah, but yeah. Also, then maybe teams just want the ability to develop that player from like the onset. Like, oh, you already wasted a year in your programs. You come over here, we're going to have to teach. I mean, I don't know. I do think though, yeah, if it's a team that we called and said, hey, who do you want at 23? They're like, all right, we do actually want this guy. And we know how drafts are. We NFL draft, NBA draft. We get like the potential of these guys that we haven't seen yet. It's almost like I have a feeling it's kind of like taking a car off the lot. Like the moment you take the car off the lot, it loses like a percentage of its value. I feel like with the draft, it's kind of the same way. It's like, oh, Springer, we saw what he did, but it's like, well, he didn't really get playing time. You didn't really see what he could do. But it's like, no, but the guy that's coming out, like that's the guy I think is going to be
exactly.
Ticket. It's like, of course he is, because he hasn't played yet.
And it's the same people that did all the rating on the previous guys, the same people that saying this guy's better.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, it's. But you're right though. You're a guy who Springer didn't look bad. He just didn't really get an opportunity. So it's like, why should he get dinged for that? But I mean, I'm sure he does have value. It's not as much if he had a great rookie season compared to like maybe a guy that played for a really bad team who got 20 minutes and bulk put up stats on a bad team that didn't matter at all in garbage time, right? So it's hard.
Yeah. Okay. So the next hypothetical trade, this one actually, when I was doing the searching, this actually has more traction from Mavericks fans. Mavericks fans actually want this trade, which is I would do this trade in a heartbeat, but I want to get your opinion on it. So in this trade scenario, our Sixers would trade Tobias Harris, Furkan Korkmaz, Shake Milton to the Dallas Mavericks for Davis Bertans, Reggie Bullock, and Tim Hardaway Jr. But Tim Hardaway's coming off I think an ACL or an Achilles injury, something like a bad injury.
Foot or ankle or something. Yeah.
Was it ankle? Okay.
Foot or ankle, one of them. Yeah, it wasn't ACL.
Yeah. So obviously we know what Tim Hardaway's done in the NBA. So what would you guys do this trade? Well, how would you grade this? Because Mavericks fans actually want this trade badly.
I see why they want it. No, I wouldn't do that.
Oh, you wouldn't do it?
For the Sixers?
Yeah.
No. I wouldn't do that.
It fixes our depth problems.
Yeah, but you're taking away a starter. And what starter are you bringing in a starter that plays the position that everybody loves, the player everybody loves?
Yeah.
You're not bringing in a starter at the same position. So who's going to play Tobias' position?
Yeah, that was my only concern, really, because you're fixing our depth problems with this. I get it. You're giving us the 3. Bullock can start at 3. He's a pretty good defender. He can hit open shots, good wing shooter. Hardaway, you'd either start at 2 and bring Maxey off the bench, or you'd go still start Maxey if you want to and bring Hardaway off the bench. Either way, your 6-man would be damn good at that point.
Yes. I think on the perimeter we set.
Yeah.
But and then you got a big gap right there.
Is Bertans your starting 4? You're getting paid like it. That's for sure.
He's not. I mean, he for what he's supposed to do is bring the shooting. Yes, that's there. But I don't necessarily see him as a starting 4 with us because the shooting, he makes shots, but he hasn't made them like they expected with the Mavericks. Mm-hmm. It definitely is not going to help us on the rebounding. You all said we got killed in the rebounding.
No, we're not helping us in the rebounding.
Not going to help us from that standpoint. I just don't see how this move takes us to getting closer to getting the championship. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think this is
it's an even trade. I mean, it's even. We're no better at worst. I mean, at best to me.
Now, what if I told you, because we would have the mid-level exception, we'd have the $10 million to spend on somebody. What if I told you we got Bobby Portis to be our 4 with Bertans off the bench?
I would like that. That's why I said sometimes it depends on what else goes into it.
Yeah, what the wheels in motion are.
I would probably more inclined to say yes with that, because Bobby is a guy that can play with Joel and behind Joel, and he can make a shot and he can rebound, he can defend. Great guy for that position. Yes, I would take it then.
So then you'd have like what a Harden at 1, Harden at 1, Hardaway. That's funny. Hardaway at 2, Bullock at 3, Portis at 4, Embiid at 5, and then you'd have Maxey off the bench. Obviously fill-in players. We have, a $5 million exception, and then you'd have Bertans at 4. That's a pretty good just 2 benchers right there. I don't. It's not.
I mean, Boston's really doing it with 7 players.
That's true. I mean, I know it's been a bit. Someone wrote an article recently about how targeting defenders this playoffs has been huge. Like Boston targeted someone at all times. Miami tried targeting Boston's worst defender all the time whenever they could.
Yeah, I mean,
they have someone to target on that starting 5. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's always been in basketball. It's trying to target someone on the defensive end, just like they try to target them when we're on offense. You want you want certain guys to shoot. You want certain guys to defend. That's strategy. That's playing basketball. That's what happens in the playoff series when you play a team consecutively. You have those days off. It's called making adjustments. That's all it is. So it's not new to the game.
But I feel like with the recent, in the last like 10 years or so, 10, 15 years with the super team building, I feel like that became big again because you had such top heavy lineups where like 3 megastars and then 2, you know what I mean? Like, and then I feel like, oh, okay. So you're going to give 3 top 10 players. Well, that other dude's not, and we're going to go at him every time now. And then you start seeing kind of the Bostons and even Golden State now, they went away from the Durant. Now they have like more of like a balanced lineup of a bunch of guys who could put it on you now. And Boston kind of has the same thing too. They're not that top heavy.
I mean, they have main guys, but they still have, guys that are not considered, that aren't considered, great offensive players. I mean, both teams still have that. What I think they've gone to is they have guys that fit their role and they're playing it well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. I mean, they have guys that are playing their role well. I mean, people still let Marcus Smart get wide open shots, but he's really good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they won't guard Looney out there. They let other guys. I mean, Golden State has a collective more shooters that you got to play on the perimeter, but there's certain guys that they still, don't guard as much. They don't really challenge Draymond. They wasn't really challenging Lil G. They don't challenge Looney. So it's guys out there that they still play like that. But Draymond Green, for example, knows how to play basketball, so he can still be effective in different ways.
Yeah, I don't think this is I don't mind the deal. I mean, it's like okay, we'll see what they do with other stuff. It's not like this is complete after this. I don't think this is a Morey kind of deal, though. Morey, as he's proven it, likes to go for the biggest name possible and then fill in the gaps later on. This doesn't sound like a very Morey deal to me, but it's interesting. It's going the other way. It's filling in the gaps with the trade and then, helping get one more piece via free agency. So it's interesting to see that. It definitely helps our depth, but it doesn't give us that top end I know Morey covets. So interesting.
Yeah, there's a trade that we have here, not this one, a couple away that I'm kind of a fan of, just based on what you can do with it after you do the trade. But our next hypothetical, this one I'm not that big of a fan of. Some Sixers fans really like this trade. I'm meh. So in this scenario, we would trade Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle to the Chicago Bulls for Zach LaVine and Javonte Green. How would you guys grade this trade for the Sixers?
There's that top end talent, by the way, we were just talking about. This is more the Morey deal.
I think that you could consider doing it because of Zach LaVine. I think if you think that Zach LaVine is, and from what I was told from one of my good friends that coached him, he's a high end talent, very skilled, very talented. I think if that's the case, and he's a guy that Philadelphia isn't really known to go get a guy like that in free agency. So if that's a guy that you would go get in free agency, if you could, and you got a chance to get him, I think that you got to take it.
It's interesting because it's another one of those, even though it's a big name trade, it's still another one you're like, but what are we doing after that? Because you got LaVine, Harden, and Maxey.
You're leaving some gaps.
Yeah. So again, contingent on using the mid-level, the MLE to get like a Bobby Portis at 4, because we don't have anyone to play that. Niang's not starting. So then you'd have the top end. It's kind of one of those, and Morey does this too. Let's get him and figure it out. Let's just get him on the court, and then they're all really talented. They'll figure it out. Because he did that with Chris Paul and Harden and Westbrook. Things that other people didn't necessarily think of. He did it and was like, all right, they're great players. They'll figure it out on the floor. So this would definitely be one of those, because again, if you're getting LaVine, are you saying you want to go Maxey, LaVine, and Harden 1, 2, 3, or are you going to put Maxey on the bench and then you still have to get a 3 then at that point, because you just traded Thybulle. So now you're out a 3 and a 4. You don't have either one anymore. You're not starting Korkmaz at 3, not on a championship team. So that does create, then what do? You try to trade 23 to get someone, or it's a very interesting. It's got the star aspect of it, and we take care of our 6-man position, which is important. But then 3 and 4, what do you do there? So I still like it, because I think I like going for the most talent possible. I like that aspect of it. And I assume if he did this, he has a plan for the 3 and 4 that he wants to get. I assume. So, yeah.
Do you think this would hinder Maxey's development if we were to get LaVine in and he would go to the 6-man role? Do you think it would hinder his development or no?
I don't.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
I still think he plays the same way.
Plays more free.
I think he plays the same way, and I think he can play the same amount of minutes.
Yeah. He probably still close games with the starters.
Yeah.
I mean, he play more free. He can do whatever the hell he wants as a 6-man. He can go nuts at that. No one only him back. No James or me thing. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of Sixers fans try to put when they do the starting 5, they had LaVine playing 3 of that starting 5. That's just that's too small of a. Yeah. I don't know.
Some matchups, sure, but not. Not guarding Butler. LaVine would be guarding Butler in that series, for instance.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. I think Butler would just try to bully him, back him down, and bully him.
Yeah, and Javonte Green, I don't really know much about Javonte Green. He's a 3. He's a small forward.
Yeah, that was small ball 4.
Okay.
But he could be utilized. Yes, I don't see him as a starter, but a reserve player.
Yeah, he played good. I mean, he played good minutes for them, but I think they also had a lot of injuries. They kind of put him in that position. But he's a 3. He can play 3 and good depth. I mean, especially for try to package other people to get someone else. I mean, we'd have to fill in the gaps.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the one that I'm a big fan of. So this is our 4th hypothetical trade. So in this one, the Sixers would trade Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle to the Hawks for John Collins, which would open up around $20 million for us on top of the mid-level exceptions that we have. How would you guys grade this trade? I would say yes in a heartbeat to this one. I'm a big John Collins fan, but what do you guys think?
This one right here is a bold move, and I think you can't make this move unless you already know where that $20 million is going.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know where that $20 million is going. You got to have an idea. You got to have something, because it's like I said. You can look at our history. Philadelphia hasn't got a lot of big time free agents.
Yeah, and they're prime. Yeah,
via free agency. trade, draft, and all that. Yes, but free agency, it hasn't happened very often. So I have to know where that's going, because that's it's enticing, and hopefully it can be done. And as far as getting that kind of cash and being able to move it to some, basically starters or starter. But is that one player? Is that two? Because that's the that's more information.
Yeah,
I mean that's more information needed, because that could be just one player now with the salaries the guys have.
Yeah.
I get the logic for it. Take a guy who's very similar in certain skill sets. Give us the rebounding. He's a good shooter. I think the last 3 years he's been shooting 40% from three. So it gives you elements of what Tobias does at 12 less million. And then you have the Matisse contract. So it'd be like 16, 17, I think, when you take both out. So yeah, freeing up that. But yeah, with that, it's also, what are you doing next? Because we need to know what's going to happen, because this is all contingent. It's great you're going to free up money, but you need to know what's going to happen with Harden and his salary. So this would be contingent on what they've already maybe talked to Harden about accepting and what he's cool with taking. Obviously less money, because if not, it just goes right to Harden. And what the hell was that for? But yeah, they've already had these things in place. Then yeah, to save 16 million there, divert that somewhere else, get us a legit. We need a legit starting three at that point, because you just lost two players who gave us 25 minutes a game and 33, 34 minutes a game. We're getting Collins, which is great. I think he fit in really well at 4, but now we don't have a 3. So, it would have to come with another piece. I've seen a lot of these deals too. I think another one I read was for another popular one was for Harrison Barnes, who makes even less than Collins. Get Harrison Barnes, save 20 million, put that somewhere else. I get it. I get why we're doing that. We're trying to, we don't, I guess teams and more, you might not see a need to have 38 million at the 4 position. We can get a guy who does what Tobias does, not 100% what he does, less ISO scoring, but a good shooter, a good rebounder. We can get him for, 15, 20 million less. We should probably do that if we can. But Harris's contract is so rough that you're also going to need to give away other things to be able to do that. So yes, you are getting rid of it, getting a similar player for less money, but you're also giving away Matisse or asset to do it. So if they have a plan of what they're going to do in B, C, D, then I would be for it. But it really depends on what hypothetical things have to happen after this, which is huge.
Yeah, I've seen the Harrison Barnes, when I saw someone doing a mock trade. There's a million mock trades out there, but I saw someone trading Tobias to Sacramento, getting Harrison Barnes and being able to free up money to sign TJ Warren and have him as those two as your 3 and 4.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, that's a bigger 3. Harrison Barnes, you're losing rebounding from Tobias, because I think he averaged like 5 a game.
Mm-hmm.
But then Warren's a pretty big 3. So you're getting a little more size overall, and you're starting 5. I would be, that sounds great.
Yeah. Everyone's a GM on Twitter. So
yeah.
That great trades. Those are all-star rosters. Okay. So our final hypothetical trade, this is an interesting one, mixed bag on this one, but the Sixers would trade Matisse, Thybulle, and Danny Green. And in this case, we would guarantee Green's salary at $10 million to send them to the Wizards for Kentavious, Caldwell-Pope, KCP. How would you guys grade this trade? This would be essentially Matisse for KCP, because Green will probably be out for the rest of the season.
This is a right now trade.
Oh
yeah, your window's small and closing. Yes, you make this trade. You got a more proven guy that's playing the same role as Thybulle.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think it's, if they have the same, if KCP was under contract for longer, I don't even know if they would do it, but he's only got 1 year left. So Washington might be thinking, hey, like we're going to youth movement anyway. We're rebuilding for the future. what's the point of signing KCP to a 3 or 4 year deal at 15 to 20 a year? They might just want to do it. We'd be losing the potential of Thybulle becoming more, but yeah, I mean, like Eric said, I think it puts him like a win now 3 to put right in there. He'd fit. I think he'd fit. He's been a popular one for like a few years to put on this team with Embiid because I think he plays defense. He's a hard-nosed player. He can shoot. I think even with the Wizards toward the end of the year, he was putting up some really good stats for them when they needed him to.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have that role with us. It'd be mostly open 3-pointers for him. But yeah, I think it'd be great. And if we could figure out a way to still shed a couple million, then we could still get under the allotment of cap space, and we could still have the MLE to spend on on someone.
With a trade like that, for example, that's a trade you guys we wouldn't touch on the 4 positions. So we probably keep Tobias in the squad and just kind of filling in that 3 gap and then trying to spend money for depth at that point. Is that what that kind of trade would be?
I mean, I think that I think that if you're making that trade, to put a more proven guy in the position of that you need or you want. I mean, I think that he fits the mold and the style for the 3-and-D that you want. So I don't see no other reason to make it other than you want a more proven guy in that role.
Yeah, I think with the extra MLE and the biannual, I think you would get a good backup, a legit backup 5 once again for Embiid, and then you get a good 6-man off the bench, and I think you'd be done at that point. I mean, your lineup would be Harden, Maxey, KCP, Tobias, and Embiid. I mean, with a healthy Embiid, I think that lineup hopefully would have beaten the Heat. I mean, that's a good starting 5. You need the better bench, which we lost when we did that trade. So hopefully between the 2 exceptions, we could get a legit backup 5, and someone who can maybe turn on some heat on the bench.
Yeah. Yeah. If you were the Wizards, would you do that trade, Eric?
I think it comes down to what you all said. What are they going to do as far as who they're bringing in? I think it kind of depends on what they do with Beal. If they give him that extension and they got who they have around him, and I think if you're paying him and you're saying, hey, we're trying to make the playoffs, I don't think you make that trade. But if you're saying, hey, we're paying him and we're going young, yes, I think you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see why they wouldn't do it. It's not like KCP is tied to their future at this point. He's got one more year left. Are they going to pay him money after that? You have Thybulle pretty cheap for 2 more years. So, it gives them more time to figure out how they want to build around Beal. And they could always trade Thybulle next year if they wanted to. So it creates options for them.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. There's one I just saw recently. I heard the Cavs are interested in Tobias. That's one of the many people on their short list of guys to look into.
Yeah. I've seen a few proposals online of those too. I didn't mention those just because they weren't sexy names to me, but
no, they weren't, of course not. But Eric, would you do Osman and Kevin Love for Tobias Harris?
I mean, I might do that.
I mean,
I might do that because I think Kevin has won a championship and played a major role and had a way much better season than people anticipated. You can get a guy that has started at 3. I might do that, and Kevin can also be your backup 5.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I mean, I think he played 74 games last year, right? Very healthy for him, but he only averaged 22 minutes a game last year. So they were really smart in how they worked him out. Like, we play you less, we could play you more. So I think with us, we probably need to go up a little bit. I wouldn't want to do too much. I don't want him to get injured. But I mean, I think Love would fit in pretty well. On off nights for Embiid, he could play small ball 5. He's a good stretch 4.
I would do it, but it has to be more beneficial from a cap space, either in the future or presently. I think the cap hit as far as going forward would have to be better. It couldn't be worse.
Yeah. So Love makes 28. He makes about 10 less than Tobias, but the beauty of Love is it's his last year. So if we wanted to clear that out and be like, all right, this didn't work, we can do that. And Osman makes like 6 or 7. His contract's pretty reasonable, actually. So if you were doing this, it'd be like, okay, if it doesn't work, then, we get 28 million off our cap next year. And then, again, that would also depend on what they want to do with Harden and whatnot, but they can still fill out other positions on there. They could still get that Portis type, and you could split minutes with Portis and Love, which would be pretty good at your 4.
Yeah, I get it.
Would Cedi start at 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in that deal, I didn't even see Thybulle. So you go Osman and Thybulle at 3 switching off. That's pretty good offense defense.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a good shooter.
Not sexy names in that trade, but I mean, I as you guys said, that it makes sense on that lineup.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a bizarre version of that Dallas trade, really, except you're not getting 2 of those guys.
Yeah.
You're getting like 2 wings and like a real poor man's version of what Love is with Bertans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's close to that, but you're getting 2 better wings than Osman, but you're also getting a worse 4 with Bertans. So it's like, pick your poison. What do you want to have, a worse 4 or worse wings? It's like, I guess see who's more available in free agency.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if any of these trades, if some of these trades come to fruition, obviously it's never that one trade. It's the other moves you guys said, the ones after that trade or the ones that the follow up. So that's the puzzle pieces will fall together.
Mm-hmm.
But the first chip of kind of these trades, we'll find out tonight as the Brooklyn Nets have to disclose if they were going to take our pick this year by midnight tonight, or at whatever the deadline is by June 1st.
I think it's 5 p.m. tomorrow.
5 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, so it's by tomorrow. So yeah, and that's our boy Teja's birthday tomorrow. So hopefully we get our first round pick as our gift.
Thanks, man. Give us number 23 for my birthday.
Nice.
All right, fellas, that does it for us. Thanks for tuning in to Bleav In 76ers, presented by BetOnline. We'll see you guys next week as we discuss possible guys we could draft at number 23 if that does come to fruition. So we'll talk about that next week. So we'll see you guys next week.